I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. Today is Thursday, May 30th. It's been another fairly hit and miss week of fishing here. We've had some weather in some areas and uncooperative fish in others, but there are still fish to be caught. And the weekend weather looks pretty good overall. We have a little bit of wind on Sunday at the northern Channel Islands and also outside at Nick and outside of St. Clemente Island, which may affect the tuna grounds at the 60-mile bank and that area where they're fishing, but most areas should be fine this weekend. Yeah, we're off that full moon, so things are settling back in a bit, and it's going to be June here in a couple days, so with this, continued stable weather, hopefully the water continues to warm up, things continue to improve. So let's head for the Channel Islands and get started. There wasn't a ton of coverage up there this week. I know they had some wind off and on, and the boats that did get out, the few that did, that I heard about was the Aloha Spirit went out, Gray Light, their charter boat, drawing a blank here. You guys got to apologize. You guys got to forgive me. I had to go get a colonoscopy earlier today, and the effects of the propofol apparently haven't completely worn off yet. So, yeah, everything's fine, by the way. It's just a regular checkup. When you get old like me, you got to start taking them. So if you're 50 years or older and you haven't had one, you should go talk to your doctor and get one. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, that's the end of my public service announcement. But, yeah, I was saying that Bight Sport Fishing, they're running one of their Freemans up there. Gray Light, Aloha Spirit. They've been running, I think, the boats out of Santa Barbara. Coral Sea, I'm sure it's running. There's Seabass still biting up there. I saw the Gray Light had some nice fish earlier in the week, as did Bight Sport Fishing. All those fish are being caught on those fluke baits, I think. I don't know that there's any squid up there, but even if there is squid, it seems like those white flukes seem to be the hot ticket. Some nice halibut being caught up there as well still. Good rock fishing. It's just going to be standard spring fishing up the Channel Islands this weekend. If I was going to go on my own boat, I'd go Saturday and not fish too late. I think it's a little breezy in the channel in the afternoon, and also Sunday looks kind of blown out for smaller boats. But that may change as well. Yeah, the San Nick and SPI, again, not a ton of coverage. A few boats went out and looked at it over the weekend. I think the Apollo was out there by the looks of their background in one of the photos, as opposed to when they had some halibut. And also the Pride caught halibut and sea bass. And I don't know where they fish. That's one of the boats that's always off my radar, but they're fishing overnight. If you want to go catch some fish with them, they seem to catch them pretty consistently. I jump on with them instead of trying to figure out what they're doing. Yeah, again, that's going to be blowing out on Sunday. Nick is. SPI will likely not be, but one of the problems you have at this time of year, especially if you get a lot of wind on the outside and you get a big west swell, we're starting to get into that time of the year where we have the uphill current, and that uphill current running into a big west swell makes pretty much any direction to get that Santa Barbara Island ugly unless you're running downhill from Ventura, then you got to run back up. If you want to fish SPI on a private boat that you got on a trailer, I'd launch Anna Maria del Rey. If you run up to there from Long Beach, it's not much further, but it's an ugly, ugly ride. So it's just something to keep in mind, especially during the summer when we have current and swell. Clemente got a lot more coverage. I saw the Thunderbird got off the dock quite a few times since over the weekend. They caught some yellows. They got a real nice one at night, their first day, and then a lot of the smaller grade stuff biting as well. Probably I'm gonna say sub 10-pound fish, but something to bend a rod and pull some line off the reel. They're also getting nice halibut there and bass. Overnight boats they're fishing are regular, the Thunderbird and also the Fury at Dana Point, and I'm sure there's other boats that run there occasionally, but those guys seem to be pretty much a daily basis. When they get off the dock, they're going there. So we're gonna go fish Clemente. I'd check out either of those guys. None of the bass guys that I know went over there this weekend. A little rough, a little bit of wind, so everybody kind of stayed on the coast. I'm sure the calicos are still biting. If you want to go over there for that, might be a good weekend. Well, Saturday might be a good day to do it. I don't know about Sunday. I checked the weather pretty closely. It gets a little breezy in the afternoon, which makes for not so nice ride home. Heading into Cat, that's just going in good spring, early summer fishing. The gale force out of whatever Port Call is called now. I'm getting old here. LA waterfront sport fishing, I guess. I don't know. Gale Forest, Captain Jared. They're catching bass, bonita, a few yellowtail. You know, just good frontside fishing. Sit up on a spot, chum, flatline baits. Have 50% of your fish eaten by sea lions, and hopefully catch a few as well. Pretty standard Catalina. Depending on where you're fishing, you have jet skiers and sailboaters running through your chum line as well, which is always a plus. I don't miss those days at all. Private boaters, Betty Florentino has been running over to Catalina. It's a little slower this week than it was last week on the bass, but that's just a day-to-day thing. I got a message from Oliver Nye, who from Big Bass Dreams, who's also running charters out here now. I don't have his information, but if you go to his Instagram, Big Bass Dreams, I'm sure he has all the info there. He got a real trophy bass at Catalina, an 8-pounder. Unluckily, it was a sand bass, which is a pretty big sand bass for Catalina. Catalina, you don't think there's sand bass there are, but it's rare to see a nice size one. So that's kind of a pretty cool bycatch anyway. But yeah, if you're looking for a different guide or something like that, maybe check out Oliver. So locally, I fished over the weekend. I think it was Saturday, maybe it was Sunday. I don't remember what day it was. Me and Jimmy Decker, we went and fished the Newport Pipe. And we planned to go crankbait fish there, but you can kind of tell when you get to the pipe what the way the fish are marking and where they're in the water column, and determine whether or not you're going to catch them on a crankbait in some of the deeper zones. There's times where we can fish in 80 feet of water and they'll bite a crankbait. There's also times where we're fishing in 50 feet of water, they won't bite one because they're down 40 feet or lower. And what we found was there was a ton of bait on the surface everywhere, but there was not a lot of bass, or when all the bass we marked were deeper. So we pulled up, made a few casts with a crankbait, and switched over to the jerk shad, and it was pretty much wide open for a couple hours. I got a little video here kind of showing Jimmy catching a few fish, but also it's kind of going to fast forward to the beginning where I pull up. He's going to make a couple casts with the crankbait, switch to the jerk shad, and then he's following visually where these bass are in relation to the bait and the birds that are around, and making casts according to that as opposed to just casting one spot. And he catches a couple fish while doing it, so you can check that out here.
You know when you leave them on the hook and they freeze dry?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, that fucking thing stunk. There's heads.
I got a head.
Oh, you have a head?
I have a head.
Oh, they're biting.
Nice.
Fuck, I missed two. I was like, that's not a bite. I'm like, fuck, that's a bite.
Nice.
The old jerk shad coming through.
The jerkiest of jerk shads.
Hello, Mr. Calico. All right. Oh, I'll show you those 9-inchers when we get to the house.
All right.
Fuck, man. Do they ever look beautiful? Fuck. There are ways down there. that. Look, it looks like they're still there.
They're right there. Took my tail off.
Oh, where you got bit right up on the top?
Yeah, they went cigar.
Oh, I'm fishing a cigar. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fuck. That was a good one. Broke me off. Fuck, that first one felt like a sea bass, man. It was like, boom! This has to be a sand bass. Nope. Feisty.
So on the same day, my friends Gary Reyes and Steve Guardian, I don't know if Jay Jones went or not, but they went up to PV. They decided to stay local and beat their heads against the wall with like I've been doing, and it looks like they did pretty good. They got some nice calicos on the weedless swim baits. They said the water was cold, but the fish were biting, so didn't sound red hot, but they caught a few fish, and they went to harbor, caught some spotties and stuff too, which is nice to see, kind of a mixed bag thing. Speaking of inside the harbor, I got a text earlier from a friend I haven't talked to in probably 5 years, my friend Lowell C's, Chris Lowell's. He kind of took a break from fishing to play golf, and I guess he's back now because him and Charles Belnavis, I never say his last name right, I know it. He's the tattoo artist, Tuna. They fished in the harbor, Long Beach Harbor the other day, got a 27-pound sea bass on a weedless swim bait. So good job, Charles. That's pretty awesome. Glad to see that. And Chris, if you're watching, I'm looking forward to fishing with you again soon, bud. Yeah, none of the sport boats are really fishing local except for sculpin and rockfish. So I don't know. There's bass to be caught, but I don't think there's enough volume for the sport boats to deal with, or maybe they got too many sea lions, they don't have good bait or what. But they're basically happy fishing their double dropper loop rigs for sculpin, and good for them. Heading down to San Diego, bass are biting down there pretty well, getting into that spring and early summer mode. I saw the daily double had good calico bass fishing on one of their afternoon trips this week. I really miss those days. I used to go down to San Diego a lot and fish half day back when Roy Rose was still a deckhand on a Mission Bell, if that dates me at all there. You guys know how long ago that was. I used to love to go down and fish calicos. You can throw the surface iron, get a bonita, maybe a yellowtail, maybe a barracuda. It's just a nice, fun fishery. If you want to go on a half day boat, go in the afternoon, grab a beer, grab your jig stick, and something to fly line with. Just have a good time. Speaking of not having a good time, my friend Tom Troop was out beating it up all week in his tiny little aluminum boat again, but he was pretty happy. He got his personal best calico. I don't know the exact weight on it, but it looks like a really nice fish. Good for him. So there's some bigger fish around being caught. This time of year, just, private boaters do the same thing you do anywhere else there's kelp. Just hit the outside leading edges. Look for unhappy bait. Look for birds. Look for signs of predation. And you're likely to find bass. And don't sit there all day in one area. Keep the boat moving. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you're fishing in San Diego, especially Point Loma, you want current that's running parallel to the beach. If it's running either direction parallel to the beach, it's fine. If it's running into the beach, it's not so great, but you can still catch fish. The playing field gets a lot smaller. If it's running straight out to sea, or there's no current at all, you might as well go somewhere else. Down south, Coronados is pretty much dried up, it looks like. Grande went down there a few trips, and they're giving up to go offshore. They got some nice rockfish, but that's not really getting them off the dock. But the full day boats are fishing offshore, mostly catching nice sized bonita, which, it's not a bad thing to catch if you're on a boat with a nice RSW system, because that fish comes out really nice. That's one of the biggest problems we have with bonita on sport boats in the old days. You throw them in a gunny sack all day, and even if you wet them down with the deck hose, by the time you get home, that's just a mushy mess and no one wants to eat. But with RSW now, you can really have a good quality of a fish, and it's hard to beat bonita pokey, that's for sure. It's one of my favorites. Those boats are also seeing bluefin down there. I know both the San Diego and the Liberty got into some fish that actually bit earlier this week. I think the San Diego had 2 and the Liberty had 2 or 3. So they're seeing them every trip, they're just not biting. And that's fairly typical for this time of year for bluefin. And when I say this time of year, I'm not going by the calendar year because it changes year to year. It might be March, it might be February, it might be June. These fish are just coming into the area. They're not really settled in, they're moving around, they're chasing bait schools down deep, they're not really feeding on fish on the surface. So you're not seeing the foamers, you're not seeing all that other stuff. And I think once these things establish themselves here a little bit better, we'll start seeing some more scores from both the daytime boats and the full day and the longer trips. And speaking of those longer trips, they've been struggling this week as well. There's been some nice scores of good grade of fish, but it's not wide open and not every boat's getting on them. So it's just luck of the draw right now. They're all fishing in one general area, and whoever gets the lucky bite on that night or that day is going to be the one that gets them. And I saw that my friend Billy Kellerman, he's running his Freeman down there fishing during the day today. Thursday he caught a fish. I haven't talked to him, I just saw his Instagram video. But he says he's fishing around all the long range boats and the multi-day boats. You know, they're all fishing that 60-mile bank outside of there, butterfly, stuff like that. It's not a sure thing. I think within the next week or two, we should see improved fishing, I would hope. You know, we're coming off full moon, fish are moving around, settling in. It should be, who knows, I might be completely wrong. We never catch another bluefin the rest of the year, but I doubt it. I think it's going to go back to more of a normal thing where we'll see some more consistent fishing. And I don't know if it's going to be daytime or nighttime, or if it's going to be on jigs or live bait or foamer fish or whatever, but it seems like they always end up biting somehow, and I'm going to hope that happens again. So anyway, it's Thursday here. We got good weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everywhere except the Channel Islands and the outside islands on Sunday. The rest of the week looks pretty good. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and good luck if you fish.